5. Rudolf Ganz. Conserving energy in piano practice. One of the most necessary things is the conserving of vital energy in piano practice, said the pianist Rudolf Ganz to me one day. The wrong way is to continually practice the piece as though you were playing it in public, that is to say, with all possible energy and emotion. Some of the pianists now before the public do this, and it always makes me sorry for them, for I know what a needless waste of energy and vital force it is. An actor, studying his lines, does not need to continually shout them in order to learn how they should be interpreted. Neither does the lyric actress practice her roles with full tones, for she is well used to saving her voice. Why then should the pianist exhaust himself and give out his whole strength merely in the daily routine of practice? I grant this principle of saving oneself may not be easy to learn, but it should be acquired by all players, great and small. I think a pianist should be able to practice 5 or 6 hours daily without fatigue. If the player is accustomed to husband his vital force during the daily routine of practice, he can play a long, exacting program in public without weariness. In everyday practice one often does not need to play forte nor use the pedals. A tone of medium power is sufficient. Suppose, for instance, you are studying the Chopin Etude Op. 10, number 12, with the left-hand arpeggio work. Every note and finger must be in place, every mark of phrasing obeyed, but during practice hours you need not give the piece all its dashing vigor and bravura at every repetition. Such a course would soon exhaust the player. Yet every effect you wish to make must be thoroughly studied, must be in mind, and used at intervals whenever a complete performance of the piece is desired. As I said before, it is often difficult to control the impulse to let loose if the work is an exciting one. At a recent rehearsal with the symphony orchestra, I told the men I would quietly run through the concerto I was to play, merely indicating the effects I wanted. We began, but in 5 minutes I found myself playing with full force and vigor. In regard to methods in piano study, there seems to be a diversity of opinion, resulting, I think, from the various ways of touching the keys, some players using the tip and others the ball of the finger. Busoni may be cited as one who employs the end of the finger power also, while the Frenchman, Cordet, who has an exquisite tone, plays with the hand almost flat on the keys, a method which certainly ensures weight of hand and arm. Of course, players generally, and teachers also, agree on the employment of arm weight in playing. The principles of piano technique are surely but few. Was it not Liszt who said, "Play the right key with the right finger, the right tone, and the right intention, that is all"? It seems to me piano technique has been pushed to its limit, and there must be a reversal. We may return to some of the older methods of touch and technique. The vital thing in piano playing is to bring out the composer's meaning, plus your own inspiration and feeling. You must study deeply into the composer's idea, but you must also put your own feeling, intensity, and emotion into the piece. And not only must you feel the meaning yourself, but you must play it in a way to touch others. There are many pianists who are not cultured musicians, who think they know their Beethoven because they can play a few sonatas. In music, knowledge is power. We need all possible knowledge, but we also need to feel the inspiration. One of the greatest teachers of our time holds that personal inspiration is not necessary, for the feeling is all in the music itself. All we have to do is to play with such and such a dynamic quality of tone. Like a country doctor measuring out his drugs, this master apportions so many grains of power for forte, for mezzo, for piano, and so on. This plan puts a damper on individuality and enthusiasm, for it means that everything must be coldly calculated. Such playing does not really warm the heart. I believe in teaching tonal contrasts and tone color even to a beginner. Why should not the child form a concept of forte and piano, and so get away from the deadly monotony of mezzo? I have written some little descriptive piano pieces, and my small boy learned one of them to play for me. There is a closing phrase like this, and Mr. Ganz illustrated at the piano. It is to be played forte, and is followed by a few notes to be touched very softly, like an echo. It was really beautiful to see how the little fellow reached out for the pedal to make the loud part more emphatic, and then played the echo very softly and neatly. He had grasped the first principle of tone color, namely tone contrast, and also a poetic idea. There are so many wonder children in these days, and many marvels are accomplished by infant prodigies. Very often, however, these wonder children develop no further. They fail to fulfill their early promise or the expectations held of them. A youthful wonder in the field of composition is Erich Korngold, whose piano sonata I played in my New York recital. I have played this work 8 times in all during my present tour, often by request. To me, it is most interesting. I cannot say it is logical in the development of its ideas. It often seems as though the boy threw in chords here and there with no particular reason. Thus the effort of memorizing is considerable, for I must always bear in mind that this C major chord has a C sharp in it, or that such and such a chord is changed into a most unusual one. One cannot predict whether the boy will develop further. As you say, Mozart was an infant prodigy, but if we judge from the first little compositions that have been preserved, he began very simply and worked up, whereas Korngold begins at Richard Strauss. His compositions are full of the influence of Strauss. The critics have much to say for and against these early works. I do not know the young composer personally, though he has written me. In a recent letter which I have here, he expresses the thought that, though the critics have found many things to disapprove of in the sonata, the fact that I have found it worth studying and bringing out more than compensates him for all adverse criticism. To make the work known in the great musical centers of America is surely giving it wide publicity. On a later occasion, Mr. Gans said, I thoroughly believe in preserving one's enthusiasm for modern music, even though, at first glance, it does not attract one, or indeed seems almost impossible. I enjoy studying new works and learning what is the modern trend of thought in piano work. It keeps me young and buoyant. One of the novelties lately added to my repertoire is the Haydn Sonata in D. On the same program, I placed the Korngold Sonata. 100 years and more divide the two works. While I revere the old, it interests me to keep abreast of the new thought in musical art and life.